How do you do, fellow kids? The long bank holiday weekend is here, and finally it is legal to go out and enjoy a beer with a few friends. So to celebrate that, and serendipitously, I've got 3 beers here from the VOCATION Showcase selection, lighter beers that you can enjoy in the park with a few friends. So 3 beers on offer for us today. First of all, we've got Looking for Summer. This is a passion fruit, raspberry and vanilla infused pale ale. So we're expecting some really funky, fruity flavours in this particular beer. Then we'll be trying Loose Leaf. This is an IPA infused with Earl Grey tea, so a slightly more refined drinking experience. And then finally, we've got the East and West Coast Pale Ale, a collaboration between VOCATION and Guilo Brewery over in Hong Kong. So I'm especially excited to try what those brewers over in Hong Kong have got to offer here. I'm just going to don the sunglasses to match the branding on this one. If the lighting goes off for this particular segment of the video, you know who to blame. Okay, so first thing to note is the aesthetic of the thing. I'm going to look at the beer and the can together in this instance because I think the contrast here is one of the things that makes it so appealing visually. First of all, you've got that can, that sort of cyan label with the multicolored sunglasses. It's very playful, it's very attractive, it's very appealing. So already we're off to a strong start with this. But you contrast that with the beer itself, which is pink. It's like beetroot juice. It's like pink grapefruit juice. It's that sort of hazy, cloudy, fruity sort of mix that you've got there. The contrast is beautiful. And that juxtaposition of those colours, the position of those 2 colours next to each other is really appealing. So on looks alone, this beer does astoundingly well. Then the other senses come into play. The aroma is interesting. You've got a mix there of vanilla with which the beer's been infused, so you've got that sort of spicy sweetness coming from that. Maybe a touch of white chocolate, but on top of that you've got all of that raspberry and passion fruit dryness. And I say dryness, it's like rather than passion fruit pulp, it's like the passion fruit pith or the seeds. It's that sort of dry sourness that you're picking up on the aroma there. Same with those raspberries, it's the pulp of an underripe raspberry rather than a plump, juicy, sweet raspberry. On the palate, it's quite impressively tart. There's a little bit of malt in the mix there, a little bit of white bread, a little bit of biscuit potentially. Nice biscuits, that sort of very light, pale biscuit. But that's overwhelmed pretty much by the level of fruit in the beer, that raspberry, that sour raspberry, that sort of quite astringent passion fruit flavour. As you move on to the finish, then you get more of that vanilla note as well. And that sort of, it feels a bit like they were trying to balance out the tartness of that fruit with the sort of sweet spiciness, the sweetness of the vanilla. And instead, those flavours don't hit at the same time, so you don't get that sort of balance. Instead, you end up swinging wildly from one extreme to the other. It looks beautiful. It's going to look fantastic on everyone's Instagram pages over the summer. I'm just not sure I want to drink it. All right, it's definitely not warm enough for this, but since when has that ever stopped a British man doing a barbecue? We're on to beer number 2, and critically, we're outside. The weather is actually pretty good. We're running into that long weekend now, and the barbecue is up and running with some British oak chips smoking our roast leg of lamb. So I'm getting very excited about this. Almost as excited as I am for this beer. This is Loose Leaf. It's another beer from VOCATION. It's an IPA that's been infused with Earl Grey tea. So we're looking forward to something that's going to be quite floral, quite a bit of bergamot, maybe a little bit soapy for those people who aren't so much fans of Earl Grey, but I'm hopeful. Already that orange juice aroma is coming through very, very strongly, and it's managing to overwhelm the smell of the smoke that's coming from the barbecue just to my left. So in that sense, we're off to a very strong start. Let's start with the appearance. And again, as with before, I'm going to compare this can with the beer itself in the first instance. So we're starting off with some beautiful can art, this sort of foil embossed white tiger pattern going on here. I've got no idea what relation this white tiger swimming through waves has any kind of relation to Earl Grey tea. It just looks quite nice. I imagine there's a tiger on this beer for the same reason people spray paint tigers on the side of their vans. It just looks cool. The beer itself looks like a pulpy orange juice. It's a very thick, hazy, solid, opaque, pale orange in colour. There's a bit of white head, but that dissipates fairly quickly. In terms of the aroma, we're very heavy on the orange juice here. It's very orangey, fruity, blossom, orange blossom potentially as well, with that sort of fruity note, that floral note, but also more of those florals coming through with the bergamot and that Earl Grey infusion as well. On the palate, it's got more of a sort of a thicker, oatier mouthfeel, which allows that flavour to linger, to really develop and take you on a journey as you drink through this beer. So it starts off with a lot of orange juice sweetness and a lot of that juicy, fruity flavour. But then as it evolves, you get more of that floral note, both from the hops being added there, but also the Earl Grey, that bergamot again. And then as you move through further, then you really get hit by quite a powerful punch of bitterness. Bit of alcoholic warmth in there, 6.7%, so you're expecting that, but to be honest, on a cold day like today, yeah, it's a bank holiday weekend. It's never going to be warm enough, so having a little bit of warmth there from the beer doesn't hurt at all. So Chico, I need you to be very careful and no wriggling about. So the barbecue is done, we're back inside because it's bloody cold out there, and we're enjoying a postprandial drink. This time we've got East Meets West Pale, a delightful little collaboration between VOCATION and with Guilo over in the East, over in Hong Kong. So given I've had very positive experiences with both breweries to date, very excited to see what they've come up with together here. So taking a look at the can imagery, what we've got here is a fairly muted design. It sort of mixes of sort of beigey, brown, dark red, navy blue, but what it's displaying is a sort of montage of some of the key imagery, some of the most iconic imagery of Hong Kong and of the UK. You've got the stamp there with the Queen's head on it, you've got Big Ben, you've got a Yorkshire Rose to reflect the fact that VOCATION's up there in Yorkshire. But at the same time, you've got these sort of the classic Hong Kong taxi, you've got the Hollywood Road sign and so on, all sort of pointing towards that Hong Kong experience. So we've got a soft and hazy base on the description for this beer, and that's topped up with Vic's Secret and Galaxy hops. So we're looking forward to some tropical fruit flavours, some papaya, some guava, and a little bit of dankness as well. Really excited to try this one. A little treat for you. Nom nom. Good crunching. See, he gets paid to be here, so that's fine. So as promised, we've got a pale orange and very hazy beer with a fairly thick white head. It's got the same sort of colour and consistency of like a tropical fruit juice. It's a little bit, I keep on coming back to the term umbongo, but it does feel a little bit like that, just looking at it in terms of the appearance, but also in terms of the aroma. That aroma, even from here, I'm picking up that papaya and that guava, those really sort of aromatic tropical fruits. But yeah, on the nose as well, pineapple, like that sort of sweet, syrupy pineapple coming through on there as well. It's a really appealing aroma, and I'm excited to get stuck in. Before I talk about the flavour on this one, I'm going to take a bit of a detour talking about the mouthfeel, because I think that's a pretty core plank of what makes this beer a little bit different. It's clearly very thick. You can see that from the way it sort of flows around the glass. You can see that from how opaque, how hazy it is. But it's also got a decent amount of carbonation, and that really helps cut through in a way that breaks the beer up. It makes it more aromatic. It makes it a lighter drinking experience without completely overwhelming the profile, the sort of overall mouthfeel. So it's a really nice balance there, which sets it up nicely for enjoying the flavour profile later on. On the palate, we're picking up tons more of that tropical fruit sweetness, that pineapple, and it's like that sort of intensified dried pineapple, the very intense syrupy sticky sweetness coming off that. That's the kind of flavour we're picking up here. It's the guava, it's the papaya, it's those dried tropical fruits and the sweetness that comes with that really dominates in the first few seconds drinking this beer. But then later on, and particularly as you swallow and as you move on to the finish, you get more of that dankness, that grassy, slightly resinous, slightly piney element to it as well. And so in that sense, you've got a beer that is East and West, both in the terms of the brewers that you're dealing with, but also it carries elements of both East and West Coast IPAs, in that you've got that sort of very thick, fruity New England style, but also a little bit of that dankness, a little bit of that pine character that you'd expect in a West Coast beer. This is a delicious beer and it's a great collaboration. I'm not sure it necessarily speaks particularly to either Vocation or Guilo. I don't think it's really characteristic of either of them, but as just a very tasty beer to try and a celebration of beers collaborating and working together, definitely worth a shot. That's it from me this week. What I want to hear now is, what do you think? Have you tried these beers? Do you have any particular thoughts on them? What beers are you most looking forward to drinking with your friends when you're back out, meeting them in the parks and gardens once again? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, do check out my other videos, and do of course go on to brewreport.co.uk, where I will be posting fresh beer reviews every Sunday. And until next week, happy drinking.